It's very good to have you guys here, and this is our third talk, and the topic is how to develop friendship cross-culturally. And today I have Tim and Val with us. I'll probably just get them over here. So if I ask you a couple of questions, and so you can just let us know. Maybe the question is just your background and where do you come from, and how do you as together serve the Lord, and how do you get involved in cross-cultural ministry?
Okay. I'll go first. I was in this area for a few years, working at St George initially, and then I worked overseas for many years, and in India and Nepal. I came back from there, and a couple of years later married Tim. We've been married 10 years only now, and we worship at Naui Baptist Church, which is a church that I've been worshipped at ever since I came to Sydney. What is it because of my time overseas, and because God has brought so many people from other countries to our land now, we spend a lot of time in cross-cultural friendships and forming relationships with people who come from another land and maybe who live next door and things like that. So that's what we want to share with you today.
I was actually a foreigner to the southern part of Sydney. I came from the northern side. I grew up on the northern side of Sydney, over at Beecroft, and my family has had connection with overseas work for many, many years. My sister actually worked in Nepal, and I visited her there, although I didn't meet Val when I visited. So, about I guess 13, 14 years ago, I met Val when she returned from Nepal through the mission agency that was sending my sister as well. So we met. Since then, we were married. We've been back to Nepal a couple of times, but we just also enjoy meeting and just being friends with people who have come from overseas. In our Bible study group, we have 3, I think, other nationalities in a group of about 8. So we've been greatly enriched by that contact, and we really enjoy it. So we just hope that by what we share today, you might also learn how you can benefit from relationships with people from other cultures.
I hope this is not too difficult. If you summarize today's sharing with one sentence, what are you going to say?
Well, I think we're blessed to be a blessing. We have lots in this country, and we know the gospel. We've heard it so many times, and I don't think we should keep it for ourselves. And even economically, we have so much. We need to be a blessing to others.
Thank you. Just a bit logistic.
When we're talking about cross-cultural friendships, I guess our first question is, what is culture? So culture, first of all, belongs not to an individual, but to a society. It's a group set of attitudes and behaviours. So the first part of it is what we see people do, what they do and how they live. Underneath that are the values which determine their behaviour. So what is good, what they see as being good, or what's best, and what's needed. And that determines your behaviour. Underneath that are your beliefs, what you think is true, because that determines your values, which then determines your behaviour. And right at the core, we have what we call a worldview, an understanding of really the whole framework of ideas and beliefs through which an individual interprets the world, understands how the world works, and that then determines their beliefs, their values and their behaviour. So we need to think that if we're going cross-culturally, all those different levels might be different from our own. And to really understand another culture, one needs to go right down into that core of the worldview. So most obviously it's seen in language, and that's often a big barrier. We should understand, of course, that the languages, that was God's decision at the Tower of Babel, to give people different languages so that they would actually spread out and occupy the whole world.
Sometimes I think language doesn't just mean having to know another language either. My thoughts go back to going to work in Canada as a young person, working in the hospital there and going home to a church family quite soon after I got there, and having lunch around the table, and after the meal was over, the hostess brought her little baby to the table and was there holding it, and so I just, talk around the tables going on, I just said, "Oh, can I have a nurse of the baby?" And the whole place went silent. I found out that nursing in Canada means that you are going to be breastfeeding the baby, so I was quite embarrassed. So language can be a real problem, not just English to English, but when we start trying to learn another language or understand what a person from a different language is saying to us.
We also see it in clothing, in food preferences, and that can be enriching to us too, because we can share different foods. And customs, and particularly their social expectations. Perhaps we should mention, in the Nepali culture, when you go and visit someone, you'll do it. You'll end up, they'll always feed you, but as soon as you've been fed, that's when you have to leave. Our culture, we tend to feed and then talk afterwards, so it's a complete turnaround. So another one is that in their culture, the guest is often fed sitting out by themselves and no one else is eating, which for us is terribly awkward. But it is us that it's awkward to. It's not awkward to the people from their culture. So we need to remember that.
So with the culture, I think we often would be thinking of it as it's in the terms of us and them. You know, it's a difference, and it's not always the fact that we're thinking that our culture, well, we do often think our culture's better, but it's not that one is better than the other, it's just that they're different. But culture plays a big part in understanding how to relate.
And the usual reaction when you meet a stranger, because we don't understand them, is first of all fear. We wonder what they're going to do, and is that going to either offend us, endanger us in some way? So we have fear, mistrust because of a lack of understanding. We feel afraid, and it can even lead to hostility because of the way different things happen. So we need to be careful of those things, and we need to be prepared to change that natural reaction.
But our aim, of course, is to fundamentally have an attitude towards our fellow humans